software engineer switches his phone to AirPlay mode during a transatlantic flight and discovers his device is tracking not one, but two aircraft flying in perfect formation, mirroring each other's every move thousands of feet apart. What he uncovers will change how you see every flight you take forever. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Marcus Webb was the kind of person who noticed details others missed. As a senior software engineer for a tech company in San Francisco, he spent his days finding bugs in code, patterns in data, anomalies in systems. So when he boarded the red-eye flight from New York to London on a rainy Thursday night, he did what he always did. He pulled out his phone, opened his collection of offline games and productivity apps, and switched to airplane mode. The flight attendants were still doing their safety demonstration when Marcus noticed something strange on his screen. He had opened a flight tracking app, one he used frequently to monitor his trips. The app worked offline by using the phone's internal sensors, GPS cache, and accelerometer to estimate the aircraft's position. It was not perfectly accurate, but it was a neat little tool he enjoyed watching during flights. Except this time, the app was showing to aircraft on the screen. Two blinking dots, both labeled as Flight 887, both moving in the exact same direction at the exact same speed. Marcus blinked and refreshed the app. The two dots remained. He checked his phone's settings. Airplane mode was definitely on. No cellular connection, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. Just his phone's internal sensors doing their work. Yet somehow, his app was detecting two planes. He zoomed in on the map display. One dot was labeled as his flight, traveling at 37,000 feet. The other dot, also labeled Flight 887, was shown at 42,000 feet, 5,000 feet directly above them. Both aircraft were moving in perfect synchronization, following the identical flight path across the Atlantic. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He was a logical person, someone who did not believe in conspiracy theories or paranormal nonsense. There had to be a reasonable explanation. A glitch in the app, maybe. A cached data error. He closed the app completely and reopened it. The two dots were still there, still moving together like shadows. He tried a different flight tracking app, one he rarely used. It took a moment to load from his phone's memory, but when it did, Marcus's breath caught in his throat. This app showed the same thing. Two aircraft, same flight number, 5,000 feet apart, mirroring each other's trajectory perfectly. His hands started to sweat. He looked around the cabin. Other passengers were settling in, some already asleep, others watching movies or reading. Everything seemed normal. The hum of the engines was steady, the cabin lights dimmed for the overnight flight. But Marcus could not shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. He spent the next 20 minutes testing every possible explanation he could think of. He restarted his phone. He checked for app updates, though none could download without internet. He even tried using his phone's compass and gyroscope apps to see if there was some kind of interference. Nothing explained the second aircraft. Then something even stranger happened. About an hour into the flight, the second dot on his screen began to drift. Not much, just slightly. It moved a few degrees to the north, creating a small gap between the two flight paths. Marcus watched, transfixed, as the gap widened over the next several minutes. The two aircraft were no longer flying in perfect formation. They were diverging, slowly but unmistakably. And then, Just as suddenly, the second aircraft corrected its course and returned to the mirrored position directly above them. Marcus felt his heart racing. This was not a glitch. Glitches did not self-correct. Glitches did not show coordinated movement patterns. Whatever his phone was detecting, it was real. He needed more information. Marcus was familiar with how airplane mode worked on a technical level. When activated, it disabled the phone's radio transmitters, but it did not turn off the GPS receiver or the motion sensors. His phone could still passively receive GPS signals from satellites without transmitting anything back. That meant his phone could theoretically detect its own position. But detecting another aircraft, that should be impossible without some kind of external data connection. Unless his phone was picking up something else, some other signal. Marcus opened his phone's system settings and dove into the developer options, features most users never accessed. He checked the raw sensor data, looking at every input his phone was receiving. GPS coordinates, barometric pressure, accelerometer readings, magnetometer data. Everything looked normal for his aircraft. But then he noticed something in the network logs. Even in airplane mode, phones kept logs of the last signals they detected before the radios were disabled. Marcus scrolled through his phone's log files, looking for anything unusual. And there, buried in hundreds of lines of technical data, he found it. A Bluetooth signal. His Bluetooth was supposed to be off, but the log showed that his phone had detected a Bluetooth device right before he activated airplane mode. The device name was just a string of numbers and letters, nothing identifying. But what caught Marcus's attention was the signal strength. It was incredibly powerful, far stronger than any normal Bluetooth device like headphones or a speaker. And the signal was tagged with an unusual identifier, one he recognized from his work. It was an aviation transponder code. His mind raced. Transponders were devices that aircraft used to identify themselves to air traffic control. They broadcast a unique code so that radar systems could track planes and prevent collisions. But transponders operated on radio frequencies completely different from Bluetooth. There should be no connection between the two technologies, unless someone had built a device that could intercept transponder signals and rebroadcast them over short-range Bluetooth. A device that could be hidden on a passenger's phone, or in their luggage, or even built into the aircraft itself. Marcus felt sick. If someone was intercepting transponder data, they would know the exact position, altitude, and speed of any nearby aircraft. They would know if two planes were flying in close proximity. They would know if one plane was shadowing another. He looked at the screen again. The second aircraft was still there, still matching their course. Still 5,000 feet above them, invisible to everyone on board except him. The question that terrified Marcus was simple. Why? Why would another aircraft be following them in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? There were no coincidences at this altitude, no random encounters. Flight paths were carefully planned and separated by miles of empty sky. If another plane was tracking them this closely, it was deliberate. Marcus spent the next hour in agonizing indecision. Should he tell someone? A flight attendant? The captain? And tell them what exactly? That his phone, which should not be able to detect anything in airplane mode, was showing a second aircraft that no one else could see. They would think he was crazy, or worse, dangerous. Someone trying to cause panic on a flight. But he could not just sit there and do nothing. He decided to gather more evidence. He started taking screenshots of his phone's display every few minutes, documenting the two aircraft and their positions. He noted the exact times when the second plane drifted off course and when it corrected. He wrote down every technical detail he could think of, every piece of data that might prove what he was seeing was real. 3 hours into the flight, something changed. The second aircraft began to descend. Marcus watched as the altitude reading dropped from 42,000 feet to 41,000, then to 40,000. It was coming closer. His pulse hammered in his ears. The plane continued descending, closing the gap between them. 39,000 feet. 38,000. The distance was shrinking. Marcus gripped his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. And then, at 37,500 feet, just 500 feet above them, the second aircraft leveled off. For 10 minutes, it held that position. Close enough that if Marcus looked out the window and the clouds parted, he might actually be able to see it. He pressed his face against the small oval window, searching the dark sky above. The moon was bright that night, casting silver light across the clouds, and then he saw it. Just for a moment, through a gap in the cloud cover. A dark shape, sleek and fast, flying in formation above them. It was not a commercial airliner. The silhouette was all wrong. Too narrow, too streamlined. It looked military. Marcus pulled back from the window, his breath coming in short gasps. His mind flooded with possibilities, each more disturbing than the last. Was this some kind of military escort? But why would a civilian flight need a military escort without anyone being told? Was it surveillance? Was someone on this plane being watched? Or was it something worse? He thought about all the news stories he had read over the years. Planes that disappeared without explanation. Flights that experienced mysterious incidents. Incidents that were never fully explained, always chalked up to mechanical failure or pilot error. What if some of those incidents were not accidents at all? The second aircraft maintained its position for another 20 minutes, then began to climb again. Marcus watched as it rose back to 40,000 feet, then 42,000, resuming its original distance. Whatever it had been doing, whatever it had been checking, it was finished. For the rest of the flight, the two aircraft continued their synchronized dance across the Atlantic. Marcus did not sleep. He could not. He kept his eyes on his phone screen, documenting everything, waiting for something else to happen. As they approached London, the second aircraft finally broke formation. It peeled away to the north, disappearing from his tracking app's display. By the time Flight 887 began its descent into Heathrow, Marcus's phone showed only one aircraft again, just them, alone in the sky. After they landed, Marcus went straight to the airport's information desk. He asked if there were any military operations in the area, any escorts or training exercises. The staff looked at him like he was confused and told him they had no information about such things. He tried calling the airline, but they redirected him to customer service, who had no answers. He even considered going to the authorities. But what would he tell them? That his phone detected something no one else saw. Over the following days, Marcus became obsessed. He researched everything he could find about aircraft shadowing, military intercepts, unexplained flight incidents. He found scattered reports, forum posts from other passengers who claimed to have seen strange aircraft near commercial flights. Most were dismissed as conspiracy theories, but a very few, had details that matched what Marcus had experienced. Passengers who reported seeing military jets in places they should not be. Flights that had unexplained course deviations that were never officially explained. Data anomalies that suggested planes were not where they were supposed to be. Marcus realized he had stumbled onto something that was hidden in plain sight. Something that happened regularly, but that no one talked about. A shadow system, operating above the normal world of air travel, watching, following, tracking. He never found out why his flight was being shadowed that night. He never learned who was in that second aircraft or what they were doing. The data logs from his phone were the only proof he had, and even those could be dismissed as corrupted files or software glitches. But Marcus knew what he had seen. And now, every time he boards a plane, every time he switches his phone to airplane mode, he wonders, is there another aircraft up there, just out of sight, mirroring every move? Are we ever really alone in the sky? Or are we always being watched, tracked, followed by something we are not supposed to see? Marcus never got his answer, but he learned one thing for certain. Sometimes the most frightening discoveries are the ones that show you the world is not what you thought it was, that there are systems and operations happening all around us, invisible and unacknowledged, and that sometimes, just sometimes, a simple glitch can pull back the curtain and show you what is really there, flying above you, always watching, always following, and you will never know why. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.